All right. So in December of 2023, one of the largest money managers, BlackRock, if not the largest money manager, came out with a report that showed most retirees have 80% of their assets 20 years into retirement. So what does that mean? What that means is a lot of them could have retired much earlier than they did, and they worked just longer than they needed to. I think that one of the biggest contributors to that is lack of confidence. You don't have confidence that you're going to have enough money to sustain you all the way through retirement. And especially if you're retiring early. If you're retiring early, that 30-year window may go out to 35, may go out to 40 years. So that can be a pretty substantial amount of money when you add all that up. But what would it mean to have an extra year, an extra 5 years in your retirement? How many more travels could you go on, adventures, and things you could do, building relationships because you had that extra time? So you need to think about that when you're getting ready to retire. And the confidence piece, I think, goes with getting with a fiduciary, fee-only financial advisor early. I'm not talking 3 months before you want to retire. I'm talking about a year, 2 years out. And, you know, if you're in your 30s, getting a financial advisor to keep you on track and keep your dollars working for you may be a great alternative for you. Because these financial advisors, they know the markets, they know what's going on, and they can look at your long-term goals and adjust accordingly. So think about that. If you're a younger viewer of this video, think about that seriously. Should I get a financial advisor? It doesn't matter if you only got 100,000 or even 80,000. They'll give you some goals and they'll keep you up to date with what's going on. And to be honest with you, for what they do for you, I think the fees are fairly reasonable. So here's a statistic from the report that's pretty hard to believe, that almost a third of people 20 years into their retirement, 20 years into their retirement, have more money in their portfolio than they did when they retired. Now that to me is just astounding. And that's also across all the wealth groups. So that's the people with, you know, $10–20 million, and that's the people with $500,000. Almost a third of them have more after 20 years than they started with when they retired. So if that's kind of a cue for you to think, well, you know, do I have enough money? Should I talk to somebody? Am I on track? And see how long you have to work. Because like I said, having an extra year, an extra 5 years of healthy, active lifestyle in retirement is worth a lot. Because, you know, if we knew the day we were going to pass, retirement would be very easy. But we don't know that. We don't know if we're going to be, you know, in our 70s, 80s, 90s, or live out to 100. You know, we don't determine that. So it's important to try to plan to get the most out of your retirement. Another reason to think about this a little earlier than you might anticipate is we've all heard it. The person that retires and then 3 months later, they end up with a serious health condition that really limits what they're able to do. And when we talk about active adventures and lifestyle, you know, we want to be out there. You know, we're going to Las Vegas next week. We just got back from Corpus Christi. I haven't even been fishing yet, and that's a whole different mess that I get into where I go fishing. You know, we want to have those adventures, especially early on in our retirement, in our go-go years. Because at that point, you know, we're still able to get around. We're still able to do some hiking a mile or two. You know, and we can take care of our health. We have more control of our life and our health when we retire. But like I said, you never know. And we've heard about it. You know, 3 months into retirement, all of a sudden, you know, a stroke, a heart attack, anything like that can happen. So take that into consideration when you're planning your retirement. And like I would say, go ahead and plan to retire early. And if your plans don't come out the way you want to, hey, work a few extra years if you need to. But if you don't plan to retire early, then you get to be 62 and you think, wow, I'd really like to retire. This is what I'd like to do. This is my new passion. You're not able to do that because you didn't plan to retire earlier. So go ahead, when you're making up your plan, make it out for the best case scenario. Try to retire sometime in your, 59 and a half when there's no penalties on your money when you draw it out. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I say, if things don't work out, you might have a little heartache, but you still built that plan and you know where you're going from there. Okay, and no surprise here, but the report did show that early retirees have a lot more anxiety and stress when they transition from that saving to the spending. And that's no big secret that when you're younger, the sequence of returns can really affect your retirement. And so when you're not already 67 years old or full retirement age and have all of your assets set, and like me where I'm retiring at 61, there is more anxiety because you're taking more risk. But like I said, retirement is about risk. You can't have a non-risk retirement, I don't think anyway. We don't know what the market's going to do, and all we can try to do is build up our nest egg and put our portfolio in a position where it can ride through these market downturns. Another thing interesting in the report was that half of Americans plan to spend very linear, or they're planning on spending the same amount through retirement. Now, I can't tell you from experience, but I believe that there's more of a chance when you take this method that you're not going to spend as much as you want to spend in the go-go years, for the adventures, the travels, all that. Because once you get into your 70s, you're going to get into those slow-go years where you're still doing a lot of traveling, but the big adventures, the big trips to Europe, Hawaii, all that are probably behind you. And you've already experienced that in the go-go years. So your spending is going to go down in the slow-go years, and then it's going to turn around and go back up in the no-go years because of healthcare costs, long-term healthcare, unforeseen illnesses, and other things like that. A lot of people in the industry call it the smile, which is, the go-go years, high spending, slow-go years, low spending, no-go years, higher spending. So keep that in mind. That, I told my financial advisor when we were interviewing, I said, hey, I want to front load my retirement a little bit. Not a lot, but I wanted to make sure that we were comfortable the first, 4 or 5 years into retirement. Because I've got a plan that when Medicare kicks in and I can take my Social Security, I'm going to be drawing very little out of my actual portfolio because I was a high earner, and I'm going to have quite a bit of Social Security between my wife and I, which works out great for us. Okay, so to model this spending, this smile spending, I use the new retirement software. And I think that that's a valuable tool, and it's free if you want to use the basic package. But if you want to actually take and modify your spending throughout the years, you need to go ahead and purchase the $120 plan. It's $120 a year. And I went ahead and purchased it, and it gave me a real peace of mind because my financial advisor is doing a great job. But I wanted to see it in detail, and I wanted to double check. So if you haven't talked to a financial advisor yet, that's step one. I would talk to a financial advisor, then I'd go ahead and look at this new retirement software and adjust my spending. And that's something you can do on a quarterly basis. And you can even link it to your accounts if you want. Personally, I didn't link them. A little bit of fear with the internet there, but nothing is linked to my accounts. I can tell you that right now. I would also suggest doing a little bit of homework. And if you look down in the description links there is a link to my website where I have a few tools just to get you started, just some vocabulary terms and some financial advisor checklists, you know, things that you should come with and you should be prepared to answer because it does take a little bit of homework. So go to my website, take a look at those tools. There's also a budgeting tool in there that may help you kind of outline go-go years, slow-go years, no-go years, and your wants and your needs. So take a look at that, and I hope this video's helped you, and we'll see you on the next one. Oh, by the way, the next one's right up here.